When I turned down a luxury HOA's offer to buy my family's mountain retreat, I thought that was the end of it. I didn't expect the threats, the sabotage, or the fire that nearly destroyed everything. But what they didn't know was I had a bigger fire of my own. This is the story of how one woman tried to bury my legacy in ashes, and how I rose to rebuild something stronger than ever. My name is Russell Thompson, and I never thought a polite no would start a war. Not in the mountains. Not in a place meant for peace. I inherited Timberline Retreat from my grandfather, a dozen rustic eco-lodges nestled in the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina. He built it from scratch. I turned it into a nature sanctuary with modern comforts, solar-powered cabins, filtered spring water, and hiking trails that wove through untouched forest. Guests came from all over, families, retirees, honeymooners. It wasn't just a business, it was my home. But it was also too close to Sycamore Heights, a gated luxury development with a homeowners association more controlling than the IRS. And at the center of it all was Brenda Carrington. Brenda didn't knock. She arrived. In a lavender Escalade, floral dress flapping like a flag, neon heels clicking across the gravel, trailing enough perfume to kill a hummingbird. Her vice president Todd Bixby came too, sweating bullets in a buttoned-up shirt that didn't fit his neck or his conscience. We sat on my porch. She smiled like a realtor with something to hide. "You've built something nice here, Russell," she said. "And that's why I'd like to make an offer. For the good of the community." She handed me a folder. Twice market value. Sounded generous until I caught a glimpse of blueprints Todd dropped by accident. A private mansion, tennis courts, a helipad. My land was never meant for that kind of concrete. I handed her the folder back. "I appreciate the visit, but I'm not interested." Her smile flickered. "You'll regret it," she said softly. And then she left. I didn't take it seriously. Not until 2 days later. First, the cancellations. Longtime guests suddenly backing out. Then a health inspection flagging my water filters, which had passed every test for 5 years. An anonymous complaint reported black mold. Wildlife complaints. Fake online reviews warning of gas leaks and snake infestations. Then I found my mailbox smashed. Red spray paint across the wood read, "Sell or burn." Olivia, my site manager and close friend, urged me to go to the sheriff. I did. The deputy looked bored, scribbled notes, promised to check into it. Nothing happened. But I had one card left. One that Brenda didn't know about. I'm not just the guy who owns Timberline. I also work as a senior financial auditor at Blue Ridge Capital Group. And 2 weeks after Brenda's offer, guess whose HOA budget request landed on my desk, Sycamore Heights? I started digging. $240,000 in landscaping reimbursements with no receipts. Invoices from companies that didn't exist. Money routed to shell accounts tied to offshore holdings. It wasn't just sloppy. It was criminal. I didn't say a word. I just collected. But Brenda didn't slow down. New signs appeared on local trails, warning coyote activity. Do not proceed. Another week later, my electricity was cut for code violations. Then the permits for our summer expansion were mysteriously delayed. And then came Haley. She was Brenda's daughter, nervous, polite, and clearly terrified. She came to Timberline one afternoon looking like she hadn't slept in days. She sat on my porch, hands trembling around her tea. "She's planning something worse," Haley said. "She talks about you like you're the enemy, like you don't deserve the land." She slid a folder toward me, screenshots of texts from Brenda to hired hands, instructions to post fake reviews, directions to sabotage water lines. She even paid someone to stage a fake wildlife emergency. But Haley hadn't just collected digital evidence. She gave me a flash drive. "You'll want to hear this." Later that night, I listened to it. Brenda's voice, sharp and cold. "Burn it. Make it look like lightning or a gas line. Just make sure there's nothing left but rubble." He'll sell for pennies. 3 nights later, the fire came. It started just after midnight. Olivia called me, voice shaking. "It's the lodge, it's burning." I drove like a madman through the darkness, but by the time I arrived, the flames were already reaching the roof. Fire trucks rolled in 20 minutes late. The lodge, my grandfather's lodge, collapsed in on itself like a dying star. We stood in silence as the embers glowed. Olivia pointed up the ridge. Her SUV was there. I saw it. But the sheriff wouldn't act. No warrant, no arrest, no investigation. Brenda thought I was alone, but she forgot I was an auditor, and I had been building a case bigger than she imagined. I brought everything to Franklin Dorsey, a federal investigator with a quiet voice and a lethal focus. He'd been tracking HOA fraud across the region. Together, we followed the money trail: Brenda's payments, hidden LLCs, bribes to county clerks, even a bank officer she'd paid off to delay my insurance check, and the flash drive that sealed it. Dorsey waited for the right moment. At the next public funding hearing, Blue Ridge Capital hosted a joint review with HOAs across the county. Brenda was there, dressed to the nines, confident, arrogant. I was there too. When it was Sycamore Heights' turn, I stood up and introduced myself not as the victim, but as the auditor. I presented the findings: the fake vendors, the shell accounts, the fraudulent reimbursements. Then I handed the floor to Dorsey, who calmly pressed play on the recording. Brenda's voice echoed through the hall. "Burn it! Make it look like lightning." She lunged toward the speaker. Security stopped her. Cuffs followed. The charges: arson, fraud, conspiracy, interference with a federal investigation, 5 years in federal prison, over $700,000 in restitution, and permanent removal from any HOA-related position for life. But the best part, she lost her power. Not just legally, but publicly. Her allies vanished. Todd stepped down, the Sycamore board dissolved, and the community responded. Volunteers came by the dozens. Former HOA members who were sick of her tyranny helped clear the rubble. Local carpenters offered their time. Businesses donated supplies. Olivia and I got hundreds of messages from guests offering help, donations. Labor, even musicians, offering to play for reopening day for free. We rebuilt. 6 months later, Timberline reopened. The new cabins were named after native trees: oak, hemlock, poplar. The rebuilt lodge became part museum, part welcome center, inside, above the fireplace. We mounted a plaque: "What's built with love cannot be stolen by force." Olivia became my full partner. Haley, now safe and free, went back to school, her tuition covered by a scholarship I created in her name. Brenda tried to erase my legacy. She failed. Because you can burn down buildings, but you can't burn down a life that's built on purpose. And Timberline, it stands taller than ever.